Hi, everybody. Austin here. Sports guy Austin, I should say. You can find us at thesportsguyaustin.com. Here on our second podcast. First one I did there was with Jamie Thomas, one of my old friends from Liberty Hill. This one I'm excited to say is my best friend in the whole world here, Derek Catrola. He's my right-hand man. He's here to enlighten us on all things. But I'll let him do a little bit of background on himself there, and we'll get it kicked off.
Hey now, we are big. One thing that united us in our early 20s was the love of Howard Stern.
It's interesting to go into this medium because I never really even think of him as like an influence or anything, but I mean, I did ingest a lot of Stern over the years, so he's got to be in there somewhere for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm Derek. I know some stuff about some stuff. I'm specifically a big fan of football and basketball, Texas football, and college and NBA basketball. I'm all over it.
Yeah, and I mean, the site was really designed for me as a creative outlet. That's why I put it together. I think how we met, obviously we were both at Liberty Hill High School, but we were running in different circles until one day, for love of a girl, I imagine, you showed up at church that I was at, and I think that's where we sparked a kinship. Eventually, when you graduated, we ended up out at I think it was Camille's house where we recorded the death towel.
Oh, definitely.
Yep. And yeah, I mean that's how we came to be friends. And then you went off to UT, and I had to go back to senior year in high school. Which was kind of a bummer because like you guys were all my friends, you know, and all my friends were really graduating. That was a pretty big bummer for me. I actually remember I was in the prom group that was going out when you guys went to your senior prom. I went as a junior. I think I went as a solo dolo. I didn't even like get a fake date or anything.
That's pretty cool. When you were a junior?
Yeah. When I was a junior, it was my. I did go to the dance. And I honestly don't even think I danced with anybody, to be quite frank. I didn't even really understand or know that girls existed in high school. They didn't even register on the radar, not really. I had a girl one time take me into like a dark closet type scenario and try to kiss me. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? And I like ran out. I was just such a dum-dum, you know?
And
probably better that way, though.
Do you recall if you came to, like, my house after the prom?
Oh, no, definitely. We did enjoy that. Yeah, there was that balloon thing. People were taking videos. There was a monkey mask, I remember.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we made some videos, and, like, we brought a whole thing of balloons over and, like, dropped it off at this other person's house that was in the neighborhood that was, like, a mile away. We walked all the way down there.
That was like the dumbest prank ever.
It really was.
One of us should have had a car.
We forgot it. Well, yeah, exactly. We forgot about it, and then the next day they were like, "Can you believe it? Like somebody strung these balloons across our front thing, like it was a magical thing, something." I'm like, "Oh, that's weird." But yeah, exactly. And a deep friendship was born, and that was about 18 years ago.
Yeah, you mentioned this, and it was kind of freaky, but you were like, I've known you longer than I haven't known you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's about right. I was 17 or 18, and now I'm about to turn 36.
Yeah, we are old. It happened so fast. It was like an overnight thing, honestly.
Yeah, I think from 26 to 36 was like a week.
Yeah, and then in terms of, obviously, you know, you're coming on, you're going to be an expert. I came up with a podcast name, going super simple, making it easy, don't want to have to think about it. The Austin Travis Anderson Show. that's what I'm going with. I'm hoping to get my debut episode put down and released by the end of the month. Have you given any thought to what you're going to call your show?
I did give some thought to it, and I searched for words that start with D that mean opinion, and there was only one, and I came up with Derek's Dogma.
Derek's Dogma. Derek's Dogma. I can get down on that. I will need you to help me out with Dogma. I don't know what it means, so you need to give me some enlightenment already just by making the name.
Well, obviously there's the great movie, and I knew essentially what it meant, but it's a very far-reaching old word. But it basically means a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority that is incontrovertibly true. It was Greek for opinion, and then before that it means seem good, think. So it's just a deep word for opinion that is also an excellent movie.
Yeah, I will look forward to your first show because you could pretty much go anywhere with that. I mean, you didn't really pigeonhole yourself at all. You can pretty much talk about any subject that you want.
Yeah, it's nice and congruent. I like it. So that's it. And yours is great too because you have the good names. Like I couldn't call it Cotralas, Frostralas or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody could really use their name as a show. I think it's interesting using my full name, including the middle name. It was very interesting because I wasn't always Austin Travis Anderson. There are a handful of baby pictures that I have that have my given name when I was born before they changed it. I was going to be a junior. I don't know if I even ever told you this, but I was going to be a junior. My father's name was Jeffrey Klon Jr., so that would have made me JC Jr., and I think my life would have gone a lot differently if I was a JC versus Austin Travis Anderson, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that may have made you the total opposite of what you would have been otherwise, actually.
Who knows? Great thing about it is I like where I ended up at. I actually asked my grandmother how they came up with this name, and you wouldn't believe it if I told you, but they had decided to name me Austin. They were trying to come up with the middle name as they were driving to the hospital, and they saw a sign that said Travis County, and they said Travis was going to be my middle name. No joke. That's what my grandma told me.
Oh, wow. That's excellent.
Yeah. That's about as hillbilly as it gets, I think. But yes, that's how it happened.
It worked out great.
That's how it happened, and it ended up becoming kind of a tradition. I have a cousin named Dallas and a nephew named Houston. If you know anything about the Waco area, I also have a nephew named Hewitt. Yes, my sister couldn't come up with a better Texas name. She came up with Hewitt. That was a head scratcher for me, but that's where they went.
Well, it worked out great for you.
It definitely did, and the site's mainly a sports site. We're mainly going to be covering sports topics, and we'll have like the talk du jour when the big sporting events happen and everything. So I guess we should probably talk about our favorite teams by sport. I know there is definitely some overlap, but not all sports. Start out with the king of them all, the big dog on the block, the NFL. I'm a Cowboys guy. I know, we them boys. But it's been a long while since they've managed to have any semblance of success. It's getting so far as I see those stupid memes where it's like, in order to watch the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, you got to have a VCR, and they sting every time I see them, but we still got those rings. They don't go away. Your NFL allegiance, I mean, I've seen you as a Titans man. Is there anything else out there that
not really. My Titans fandom that basically came from Vince Young I always have been more of a fan of players than teams.
Mm-hmm.
And once I start liking a player for whatever reason, I start following the team, and then I like a lot of the other players. So yeah, NFL, I really like Titans, but I really just am a fan of just compelling games.
Speaking of compelling games, there happens to be one in a couple weeks. I'm actually of the ilk now that I've seen the 49ers put the beat down on Green Bay, and I think they're just going to steamroll, honestly. I really do. I hope I'm wrong because I hate the 49ers, but I really think the most likely scenario is 49ers just crush them.
That's what I was thinking, because I was thinking that they're just so incredible with the run game. And Kansas City can key on Derrick Henry, but they can't key on that offensive line and the three-headed monster, the three running backs. I just kind of run all over him. Kittle's gonna
and
them.
Unfortunately, Kansas City has, they started out in a hole in their first two games. If they start out in a hole in this game, that just means that crazy 49er defense is going to be coming after Mahomes with reckless abandon. That doesn't end well, I don't think.
That's going to be the problem, is the 49ers control the clock, and then they give Mahomes a chance, and either he scores a touchdown or goes 3 and out, basically. And even if he scores a touchdown 75% of the time, but he only gets like 5 or 6 possessions per half, like how is he going to possibly – if they can't stop the 49ers, I don't know what they're going to do. Because, the 49ers have a legit defense, too.
Yeah, they're pretty menacing on D. I was hoping for a Green Bay upset and was immediately disgusted with the television, had to turn it off. It was so bad.
I was too. I had money on both of the dogs. I thought that one of them was going to come through. But I also did, before the season ended, which we'll get in on the gambling section, but I did have the money on the Kansas City to win the AFC before the season ended.
Nice. You scored on that one at least.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 500. That's a good score.
It was before they got the bye.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a bye in the last week. So that was good.
Yep. Yeah. So NFL-wise, pretty well covered it. Are you a person that actually watches the Pro Bowl? I don't know many people that do. Are you going to flip that thing on and check out the Orlando action?
I will probably check it out for like a few minutes. I'm interested in some of the other like aside things that they do over there, like some of the competitions that are pretty cool.
Like the skills.
Yeah, some of the skills challenge, like some of the kicking stuff I like. I'm a fan. Speaking of being a fan of players, not teams, because of like fantasy, I've ended up liking 3 players more than really anybody, and one of them is Harrison Butker, the kicker. I'm a fan of kickers. Obviously, Justin Tucker. Cool.
Well, he won't even be there because the people that go to the Super Bowl don't go to the Pro Bowl.
Butker won't. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So probably be rooting for Justin Tucker to take everything down.
Yeah, he's pretty good, that Justin Tucker. So I bet he'll do well. Switching gears to
I don't care.
To the NBA. The round ball, definitely the sport that I had the best skill at. So that's why when I watch, I'm just like, man, these guys are incredible. I think some things that I did in my childhood kept me from being a potential NBA superstar. When I was a kid, I would ask my mother for cigarettes, and she actually was such a great mom that she gave me like packs of cigarettes when I was like a young kid in elementary school. So I think that stunted my growth a bit because my father is like 6'7" or something, a huge man. So I think I was
formulating a joke, and I was about to say you could have been like 6'7".
Right, exactly. Who knows what would have happened if my growth hadn't been stunted by the tobacco man. And thank goodness someone finally came along and said, "Hey kid, you can't smoke these."
So then you at least made it 6 foot.
Yeah, exactly. We're on the same team with the NBA. I should have mentioned earlier, I'm pretty much a front-running bandwagon type of fan. I like the Cowboys and the Lakers. Kobe and Shaq were my jam whenever I was learning how to play basketball. So that was kind of why I jumped on the Lakers. It's really great now being relevant again, having some players that are pretty good. I would say they're pretty good players that they've got now. They got a couple pretty good ones. So it's nice to be back in the mix, in the conversation. Kind of a weird thing though with LeBron. Kind of mixed feelings, honestly. Because on the one hand, I want the Lakers to win more championships. On the other hand, I don't want LeBron necessarily to win more championships. It's kind of a catch-22.
That's an interesting way to think about it. I used to root against him, and really started rooting for him when he came back to Cleveland, and it was just clear that there's no holding him back from being one of the greats of all time. And then having him come to the Lakers and totally change up his game. I did not think that he was going to age well, because you know, Kobe and the Michael Jordan thing where they got their mid-range shot, just and just got super savvy. And I just didn't think he had that in him, and he didn't. He just turned into Magic basically, but can still do the freight train move when he needs to.
Dude, leading the league in assists. I mean, is there anything the man can't do? I mean, honestly.
And you give him Anthony Davis. I don't know how many of the highlights you've seen of just throwing it anywhere around and Anthony Davis finishing.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. I mean, the big man eats all night, every day. There's nobody that can stop him. He's a problem every night. And if you leave LeBron, you're dead. So I think I don't want him to crown him. It's a long season. They have to play a ton of games. Injury bug is just right there for the taking with both of these guys. LeBron's on, I would say, borrowed time, considering how many minutes he's logged. I mean, he's like the car that's like at 200,000 miles, and you're like, anything at this point could snap and break, and you would just be like, well, you had a good run, you know, really good. And Anthony Davis being so freakishly big, I mean, he's dealt with the injuries, you know, in New Orleans. So maybe that was just because he didn't want to play in New Orleans potentially. You can't rule that out. But I think the big man getting hurt is a story as old as time.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. And yeah, LeBron, actually, speaking of our friendship, he has been in the NBA about as long as he was not in it before that as well. Because he's about our age.
Right, because he is our age. He graduated same year. Well, same year for me, I think.
Yeah, 03. And now 17 years, and he's like 35. But yes, I too am a Lakers fan, and it was followed the trend in the late 90s. As any red-blooded basketball-loving kid, I was a big Steve Kerr fan, a big fan, but it was because I liked Steve Kerr. And I even have a signed basketball from him still that just picks up value every time they won a championship, which I guess that could be over. Which
could
is
be
a whole other topic, because they still do have the Splash Brothers, as you may recall.
They do.
And they do. As a trade piece, but I liked the Bulls. And then when Jordan retired, they disbanded the team. I had already I remember when Kobe Bryant was a rookie and they put him in against the Jazz in the Western Conference Finals, I believe, and he had like 4 air balls as a rookie, and they lost. And then the Jazz went on to play the Bulls, and I just remember going, man, I really like that guy. Like, I just liked his fire, and that was the beginning of what has now been 20-something years of liking the Lakers. Even like the Smush Parker type years, and like when Kobe was just going off, it was just so great.
I remember those Smush Parker years quite fondly. I remember being in an apartment with the TV on the floor, watching Kobe take someone down, and he did the fist pump after the game winner against Phoenix. Yep.
And to add to my NBA fandom, for what is now a decade, speaking of time flying, for a decade, I have watched 90% of every Kentucky basketball game for 10 years, because 10 years ago, she was a huge Kentucky fan, and so I got a free pass onto the bandwagon by association. And so now when I look at the NBA, I see it through the lens of, I already know 2+ players on every single team, on over half the teams that have 2+ Kentucky players. So also having Anthony Davis having Rondo be on the Lakers is just an extra bonus.
Yeah, in terms of college ball, I have always been a Duke man, unabashedly bandwagon Duke man. Just constantly rooting for the Blue Devils and their success, and having the best coach that ever coached is quite, it's nice. It's nice. It's a nice thing to have. It's fun when we go to Vegas though, and we bet a bunch of money on Kentucky. I'll tell you that much. That is the best.
Well, we're 2-0 on that. I'm thinking that maybe we'll just win every single time we do that formula. I'm down for so.
Yeah, I mean, I think I am completely 100% down if we happen to get there and we bet the 2 games and they come in. I mean, at that point, you got to start looking at the universe and saying, is 2020 the year that I'm supposed to stay for the whole month and just ride it out in Vegas? I don't know. Maybe.
And can't rule it out. Do the Artie Lang where you just bet on the first game and then just bet the winnings and then just make it to where if they were to win it all, then you win. Like
one year, they are going to win it all. It's Kentucky. They have it in them to win a national championship. So I don't want it to be a year that we don't do that,
Well, and also I should say this is the year of the rat, and I'm a rat. 1984. Aren't you? Are you 85?
I'm an 84 guy, man.
84? This is the year of the rat. I don't know if you were aware of that. 2020 is our year, literally.
That's interesting. I was unaware of the rat situation, but I guess I need to do some more Chinese food eating to know about the cycle.
Yeah, it's on the little placement. The rat has years. It's every 12 years. And so this is the third one for us, 36th year. But yeah, so I think we go to Vegas every year, and and this is going to be the 3rd year, and we have traditionally cleaned up, with the pinnacle being last year with the hair row. Speaking of,
oh yeah, I was actually telling someone about that. We played past the bucket of beer, and then he hit a buzzer beater to send us to Michael Jackson.
And then it was like, we were super excited for about 5 full minutes. And then it was like, oh, we gotta go ahead and go to the show. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Now the other sports, I gotta admit, I've kind of fallen out of a good bit of. Used to watch a lot of baseball, had a fantasy baseball league. I was into that, and then just kind of fell to the wayside. I'll watch playoff baseball, golf. I watch the majors, Masters specifically. I do watch that one. And can't really think of any. The only other thing that we didn't cover, I guess you may have touched on it just slightly. Longhorns. We watch the Longhorns.
I was going to say, Horns football, I'm all in, hoping for the Ellinger year that we wanted this year to be next year. Happen. And then I'm a big football fan, but I'm seeing that that's really not going well as of yesterday.
Oh, you're talking about the hoops?
They got doubled up by West Virginia yesterday.
Ooh, yikes. So the chocolate experiment could finally, I mean, I have a hard time with time. Has it been 5? Is this year 5 or year 4 for Shaka?
I believe it is 4.
Yeah. And he got a stay of execution when they won the NIT. And that should have been like a red flag. That should have been a red flag, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he's got a buyout, and it's like, who are you going to get? Because you can't get Rick Barnes back, or that would be a pretty good one. We've never had a money flowing in, huge fan base for basketball. We are getting a new stadium, but I think the Shaka experiment is, whether or not I want it to, I think it is going to come to an end. And it turns out, I think that he's a great mid-major coach. But when he started getting the really good players, he can't have them play the same kind of gimmicky way that mid-majors play. It doesn't really work at the highest level. and it's just he didn't really know how to coach this way, like for a regular team, a regular major team. It just doesn't know how to do it. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, it is strange. I would have assumed if it worked. I mean, are you saying that basically they don't buy into the system, and they're just too used to using their talent to overcome that they can't quite possibly buy in and just go all in with like the gimmick, as you called it?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that, like the habit that he had, where he was always pressing, and he always had these super spark plugs in the lineup, and he would get a Mo Bamba, a Jackson Hayes type guy, a Jarrett Allen type guy, and you can't really play that way. You feel like you have to feed this guy that is for 3 years in a row they had a 5-star center that was not very offensively polished. And he still felt like he had to feed him because it's like if he's going to get people in the future, he's got to be able to say, like, look what I did with this person. But it went totally against his style. And so he had to try to go to a traditional style of college basketball because of that. Because you can't say no to this 5-star guy that says, yeah, let's go. But it kind of messes up the team chemistry because it's the only one and done. And then he's out, and then you still have the rest of the guys, and then a new one comes in. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but for whatever reason, he just only coaches defense, it seems like, and then just says, if y'all are playing hard defense, the offense will come, and it's just not true.
Well, I mean, yeah, I haven't watched nearly enough to have a strong opinion. I would like to see them cross the bar of the best 64 or 68 teams, not be in the NIT. I don't think that's unreasonable, but
and that may happen this year. And I believe I'll win something like $10,000 if they win the championship this year. So let's see that.
That would be a run for sure. And then kind of shifting gears, unless there was some other sport that I didn't touch on that you watch specifically. I'm pretty well tapped out in terms of favorite teams. I only had the 3 teams written down, honestly: Cowboys, Lakers, and Longhorns.
Yep. Yeah, that's me.
Right on. Going to the small screen first, TV. I was thinking when I wrote that just about the TV that I grew up on and kind of inspired me. The big one, the one that I wrote down in giant letters, that is probably my biggest inspiration out of this whole thing, including my stand-up. Obviously, I'm going with Seinfeld. I remember as a kid, I was watching Seinfeld, and my parents were watching Seinfeld, and they were laughing, and I didn't get the jokes, and I was like, what the hell is going on? This is not funny. This is a show about nothing. Why are you laughing? I grew into like a teenage and eventually full-grown person, and I started watching, and I was like, okay, now I understand. This is actually the funniest thing ever. And I would just watch Seinfeld. I still have all of the Seinfelds on my DVR to throw on at an instance. I'm looking forward to the next time I get on stage to doing a joke about Seinfeld. Like, I'll just do it right here, right now for the podcast audience. It's hacky if you steal another comic's jokes, but remakes are huge. People are doing remakes all the time. They did 2 Jumanjis. Robin Williams was alive. They did no extra Jumanjis. As soon as he dies, they roll out The Rock and Kevin Hart. They do 2 Jumanjis. Now, if you were going to do a comedy remake, I would never just come up here and do a Jerry Seinfeld joke directly. I would never do that. But the one joke that sticks in my head that I laugh at, no matter how much I think about it, it makes me crack up every single time is, what's the deal with Ovaltine? The cup is round. The mug is round. They should call it Round Team. I would never do that, though. That would be so bad to do Jerry Seinfeld's joke right then. You can't just do his joke straight away. You have to bring it up to 2020. So what would you do? What's the deal with smartphones? They should be creating smart users. It's already in the palm of my hand. Just give me the implant already. I don't want to have to Google and Bing.
Oh, yeah.
Elon, where are you at?
Well, Google Glass.
I
thought Google Glass was going to save us, but that is a great point.
But then I go further, and I go, just to make it clear how stealing jokes isn't a hack thing to do, let me tell you 2 examples. George Costanza, in an office setting, at some point says, I didn't know I couldn't do that. One of the great episodes of all time. He's having sex on the desk and he says, I didn't know I couldn't do that. That's his defense. And then Dave Chappelle has a character named Chip in one of his bits, gets pulled over by the cops and says, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Now, you tell me, which one of those 2 comics is the hack? Is it Jerry or is it Dave? And also, by the way, Chip is the president.
Right.
He didn't know he couldn't do that.
It still works.
I know, man. I know. And then I've got. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to say they can't patent making humor about nothing, right?
No, dude. Look. I will pitch whoever wants to be pitched the remake of a show about nothing, and instead of it being Jerry Seinfeld in New York, have it be some guy named Austin who lives in Austin, and I would do that like 100 times out of 100. Sign me up, yeah. And I mean, I would bring my friends along with me, and we'll all go make a show, or maybe we just make a show ourselves, make a pilot, and just throw it out there. But that was Seinfeld.
I was going to say, if they try to sue you, I feel like you can't patent like air. You can't patent having a show.
Right. No, you really can't. I mean, you really can't. And I mean, we could have like the way I've actually thought about this quite a bit. Trying to remake the show about nothing, and instead of the bass line being that bass, like a bass guitar, have it be like a hip hop bass line where it's modernized.
Yeah, like an auto tune with the beat bass. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, like exactly like a Migos beat,
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I'm telling you, it could work. It could work. The other ones that I had written down in terms of TV shows, I mean, it's all HBO. HBO made the best TV. For me, the first one that struck me was Oz. You ever watch that prison show, Oz?
I have not.
It's a good one. I would check it out. It's all available on HBO Go. It's freaking very raw, I would say, in terms of shows. And I mean, it was a good show. And then the other one I watched over and over and over in middle and high school, Band of Brothers, the World War II miniseries. I watched that one on a loop. Any particular TV shows?
Well, I'm all in on. I've seen every episode of The Office at least 5 times, and the one about Pawnee. Is that?
Oh yeah, Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Parks and Rec. Big fan of those. I did grow up watching Saved by the Bell religiously.
Okay.
And I was a big fan of the daytime game shows, and still am.
The daytime game show, Price is Right, obviously King of the Mountain. What else you got there?
Well, Let's Make a Deal. That was a little bit later, but I'm still on it. And then later on, it goes into Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. But actually, Chelsea was just saying the other day that we should, for our next vacation, go to LA or Burbank or whatever it is, and go try to just be in the audience of Price is Right, and maybe
you might. I mean, if you're in the audience, you have a shot. You have a shot to come on down if you're in the audience, dude.
And you have to be super hyped up in like the pre-show, they have like a pre-show kind of thing where everyone in the audience just has a little thing on video, and then they choose who is going to come up. So
yeah, I mean, I'd say
there.
You gotta have a quality costume too. You need a catchy shirt, honestly. You really do. You need something that's going to grab their eye, shirt wise, for sure. I'm trying to think of what I might put on a shirt if I was in the Price is Right crowd, and nothing is really coming to me at all.
We were thinking about doing some kind of pet related, because Bob Barker and now.
Oh yeah, you got to have your pet spayed or neutered for sure.
Exactly. At the end of every episode, having a joke about spaying or neutering like being important, or one of
you guys,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do a lot of TNR, so you'll come up with something, I'm sure. Movie wise, first movie I wrote down, Forrest Gump. I'm a sucker for Forrest Gump. I'm a Gump man.
That was one of my favorite movies of all time as well.
I often sometimes think I could be Forrest Gump potentially, because I've had at least one military moment where I put there's probably like 100 of us, and we had to load this with a saw machine gun, and they had a thing called the Smart Book, and in the Smart Book it gave you detailed instructions on how to do it. So I made sure to go to the end of the line, and I just read the Smart Book, and I just watched everybody fail, and everybody was failing, and then I got up there like Forrest fucking Gump. And it was a 9-step process. And I went, bing, bang, boom, 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 bing. And they're like, oh my God, Anderson did it. Cool. Anderson fucking did it. You see, it can be done. And I got to fire this thing. That was my reward. It's pretty fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm done, drill sergeant. Is that what you said?
Why'd you put that gun together so fast, Gump? Because you told me to, drill sergeant.
God damn it, Gump.
Yep. Remember the Titans? That was the other one on my list. I watched that one a billion times. Heat was there. Saving Private Ryan, and then Armageddon made the list. I watched Armageddon a lot of times. Watched them save the world from that meteor. Bruce Willis was sacrificing himself at the end. You couldn't believe it. And then the throwback jam, I don't know if you've ever seen this one, but I think it could be the most perfect movie, The Sting. The Sting.
No, I have not seen that. I'm going to write it down.
The Sting is, you should see The Sting. It's a really good movie. Like I said, I think it could be the perfect movie. It's a little bit long, but it's great. Any particular movie for you that made a really lasting impact?
Well, 2 of my top 4 movies were both made in 1994. That would be Forrest Gump and Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And then one of my top 3 movies with those 2 probably is White Men Can't Jump, which I watched again the other night. And it's just...
You said White Man Can't Jump?
Yes. It's just the best, like, stylistically perfect 90s LA. The music's so great, and the acting is so awesome, and they're actually, like, good enough at basketball to convince you that it's possible, and it's just got everything. And then speaking of Jeopardy, like, when Gloria gets on Jeopardy and she has her, like, Slumdog Millionaire moment and makes, like, $14,000, she just knows all the answers to all the questions that she's been studying or she knows all the questions to all the answers, I should say. It's just so
Foods
great.
with the letter Q. Foods with the letter Q popped up. She had been studying that one. Yep.
Quail. Oh, so it was so awesome. And the ending is awesome as well. And then I've just always been a big fan of Any Given Sunday.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. I could say I'm a Willie Beeman man myself.
Steamin' Willie Beeman.
Yeah,
ahead of its time in a lot of ways too, with the running quarterback.
Yeah, I mean the running quarterback thing. I'm not so sure that that could be the way to go. If we can all agree that you don't pay them 30 to 40 million a year, and you just have kind of like they have a three-headed monster running in San Francisco. If you just have the 3 carbon copies of the quarterback that you want to run your system, and you pay them the minimum, and you build a badass team around them, I think that could work. I did some research on Super Bowl champions, and only 2 out of the last 20 years, I think it was in my research. I mean, I'd have to go back and double check the numbers, but only 2 out of the last 20 years, by my calculation, were people that got paid like the big paycheck. Now, a lot of that has to do with Tom Brady taking up 9 Super Bowl spots, and Tom Brady's only getting paid $15 million this year. How nobody has figured out that you just can't overpay the quarterback and make a good team, but they just keep doing it over and over and over and over again. The one caveat, obviously, being San Francisco here, they paid Jimmy G a lot of money to be a game manager, but anybody could be doing what he's doing at this point, right? And Tannehill was the same way.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes is on a really cheap deal, so they're able to do a lot more in free agency. So
they're definitely
the blueprint to be a dynasty is out there, and it's not pay your quarterback $40 million or whatever, $30 million a year. It's pay your quarterback an average salary, and then build a team around him.
I feel like that's like the supply and demand part of what kind of screws everything up, is that there's 10 perennial bottom dwellers basically, and either they have bad management and or like a city that's not really that people don't want to go to, or they don't have enough market to really like big enough of a market to have a huge budget, and then they end up really reaching for people like the Kevin Kolbs and the Brock Osweiler type people. Like there's always a market for it, and so for instance, they could have stayed where they were, but they take the big money, and there's always a Browns willing to give them.
But even the quarterbacks who have won on rookie deals, right, haven't been able to get back there because the team ends up suffering so much. Like the Joe Flacco, like the Joe Flacco situation, or the Russell Wilson situation. Yeah, they're competitive. They're competitive, and they're in the mix for sure. Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know how many. I got a list of these guys that can go on and on and on. You have the Trent Dilfer blueprint. The Brad Johnson in Tampa Bay, the guy who won whenever the Bucks won it. Dude. It became an inflated position because the owners were like, we got to change the rules so that we can protect the quarterbacks. And then once they protected them, they're like, well, now we got to pay them. And maybe it was a golden age of quarterbacks, you might say, with the people that are hanging around. But Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins, I'm not so sure that those guys should be getting. Obviously, the Joe Flacco thing didn't work out. I mean, I guess Russell Wilson is working to an extent because they are relevant and getting in the mix every time.
But even like an Aaron Rodgers is a good example of they pay him, and then they're always deficient in some area because he's on a long-term paid every year.
That's what I say when I say the blueprint is out there for a dynasty. Like how the owners are so weak. The owners are so weak that they can't say, excuse me, Mr. Agent, why are you asking for double the money than Tom Brady? They can't see that as being a problem. And Tom Brady is a special. Tom Brady is a special.
That'll say, well, I'm giving you double. I'm giving you double.
I guess, but that's only one team though. That's only 2 teams out of 30. Okay, now they're dumb enough to do it. That just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean that you do it right. Like you should. The writing is out. The writing's on the wall. It's like it's like a lemming jumping over a cliff. It's so bad.
It's in your list. It's crazy how full your list is of good quarterbacks that won their Super Bowl before they were good, like Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers was like right in the beginning of his prime when he won his, I believe, like a good 8 or 9 years ago, right?
It was a while ago.
Even the ones that ended up good, they didn't win after they got out of the rookie deal, or not, not several years after that.
Yeah, and the two who I said did win the Super Bowl and get paid, the two that were getting paid while they won the Super Bowl, only two of the best of all time, Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. And Peyton Manning also, by the way, he also won a Super Bowl on a discounted contract in Denver. He took a pay cut and went to Denver, and he won the Super Bowl being a game manager. So it really is going to make me sad when I see – I mean, I love Dak. I'm a Dak man. Love me some Dak. But when he gets paid $30 or $40 million, I know the team's done. Like, they have no more resources, and they'll be running out randoms and terrible players, and the coaching isn't – I mean, I'm not really thrilled with the wet blanket that is Mike McCarthy. I'm not, thinking he got some sort of great hire there. He's just kind of a B-plus player, in my opinion. So he couldn't put it together with Aaron Rodgers, so that should be a sign.
I was going to say, he got fired from there. I mean, why would you – that's the old who you going to get thing. And fire your coach. Okay, that's great. Who are you going to get?
Mm-hmm.
There's no more crazy walking through that door.
It's tough. It really is tough. We got sidetracked there a little bit, but I'm glad to get that rant off my chest because they've already realized that they put a cap on the running back position. They already realized it. They know they can't pay running backs. That's stupid to pay a running back, kind of. You don't pay a running back a ton of money because you can just get another guy to be a running back if you have a great offensive line. Denver proved that whenever they lost, was it Terrell Davis, and then they just plugged into whoever they wanted and ran for 1,000 yards. They're going to realize eventually that the quarterback is at the same thing. They're going to be like, oh, we were really dumb to pay all those quarterbacks because it's a lot easier to build a team on a minimum quarterback deal than it is on a maximum quarterback deal. And by the way, the guy who won all the most Super Bowls ever never was the top paid guy.
Wow.
Yeah. Going into a completely different direction, food is the next thing I have here. I love all food. I can eat pretty much anything. I was trying to think. The one thing that I don't really care for that much is the fish. I'm not really a big fan of the fish. Anything outside of the fish, I'm pretty much game for. I wrote down prefix menus. You've experienced the prefix menu where you go and they give you 5 dishes and you have wine. That's something I really like to do. It's one of my favorites, actually. Special occasion type thing, birthday, anniversary, that type of thing. But we go every year to New Year's Eve at Olive in June. They have a prefix menu thing that we do. That's really awesome. Anything particular in the food game you want to talk about?
Well, I wrote here, I love food after talking about food. I love all food. I feel like I'm always stoned. I always have the munchies. Everything I eat is delicious. I'm always sad that I get full because I just want to keep eating until I burst. And the only thing I don't like is octopus.
Calamari style or
that I've tried.
actual octopus?
I actually like that. I just don't like the rubbery, gummy octopus like how I've had it. I don't even know. It's the consistency of the rubberiness, and it's basically tasteless. I've even heard that prepared a certain way, I probably would like it. So I'm not totally ready to give up on liking every single food I've ever tried.
There is one thing that pops up on a menu every now and then where I'll go for it again, and I don't know why I do it, but I do it occasionally. The duck. I'm not a big duck fan. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't like duck. But every now and then I'm at one of those restaurants and they have duck on the menu, and I'm like, maybe this place is the place that's going to give me the duck that I'm going to be like, oh my God, this is a great duck.
And it fools you. And you say, oh, damn, I remember why I don't get this.
One time in Vegas, we went to Joel Robuchon. It was a Michelin-starred restaurant, and we did a prefix menu. The first thing that came out was like, was that like dry ice or liquid nitrogen? It was like smoking when it came out. I wanted to take a picture, but I had to act like I've been there before. I've never been there though, so I should definitely take a picture. Yeah, that is the most expensive meal that we've ever done. But they had a bread cart where they came around with the bread. It was a French-inspired restaurant, so they had a bread cart where you just picked whatever bread you wanted off the cart, and they had a dessert trolley that you came by with, and you got to pick whatever desserts you wanted. We did a wine pairing. It's interesting when you do a wine pairing and they have a sommelier, the person that tells you about the wine. He comes out and he starts telling you about the wine, and you're like, I just really want to drink the wine. But he's like, oh, this wine here is a Riesling, and it's from East. No, it's not from East Germany. I forget I said that. It's from West Germany. And I'm like, dude, I don't really give where it's from. Pour it in my glass so I can drink it. It's going to be sweet and tasty.
Yeah, you're making me thirsty.
I know. While we're in Vegas, seems like a good time to talk about gambling. I, for better or worse, love gambling. The things I play: poker, blackjack, roulette, craps. I've been on a little bit of a roll at craps and sports betting. I've pretty much given up on poker and roulette, honestly. But blackjack, sports betting, and craps, I'm still a glutton for punishment. Still sucking me in. I will probably end up at a craps game tomorrow night, honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of heat check, see if you can just.
I know.
I'm all on the Bovada app or website, and I've gotten into the live betting. I blew my fair share of deposit until I started kind of realizing the mistakes I kept making over and over again, and I've kind of fine-tuned it. And I just actually cashed out $1,000 on $100 deposit, and I have $150 on Kentucky to win the championship from just winning what I have gotten. So I have all those bets open at like 20-1 and more, like 20 to 22-1 on the Kentucky winning. So I've been, like, the other day I was watching Kentucky play live because I watch all the games, and it was just this podunk SEC matchup that was, I believe it was even on the road. Oh yeah, it definitely was. And Coach Cal gets kicked out of the game. He gets a double tech, and I'm watching it live, and the odds are going back and forth, and they get up to like plus 250 on Kentucky straight up, and they're right in the game, and it's Kentucky, and I go, oh, I'll take that. And then Coach Cal gets kicked out. It was like definitely contrite. It was definitely on purpose. And then the team just responds, and they end up winning by like 12. But I'm getting used to not pulling the trigger, like just like being in with how the game's going and watching something live, and then going, I don't really like that, or oh, I like that. And I've been on a steady roll of never betting too much, but always like having the best upside. But,
yeah, I mean that you're not the first person to sing the song of the live betting. No, I mean, I'm a little chicken, I guess. I don't know. Something about it just gives me the heebie-jeebies a little. But I could see if you have your feeling on the pulse of the game, how it could work. But we'll be out there in the desert, in a couple months, so that will be fun. I sent a couple casinos, actually one casino. I sent a casino, a couple vice presidents of different things, some information like, hey, we're coming,
Oh, really? Which one?
Yeah, at the Westgate
because I want to stay at the Westgate, the big sports book. Yes, I want to experience the biggest sports book in the land, and I would like to do it on a comp if I can. That's silly me for wanting, but I did look up rooms, and maybe you could work your magic. You're kind of a wizard when it comes to finding the deals. I tried a couple of different sites, and it seemed like they were both a little bit outside of my price range, but my price range is at the lowest point ever, so yeah.
Isn't the Westgate the one that's right there, like the second to last stop going north before Sahara for the LVS?
I am not sure. I know it's on the opposite end of MGM Grand, but I'm not so sure that it is on the actual monorail. Not 100% sure.
I think it might be. I think it's the one I was actually looking at staying there last time, and it's like a somewhat dated, but like a legit 4-star place where deals come up though, and then they the largest sports. It definitely seems feasible that we would be able to check it out, and then maybe if we take them for a bunch of money, then we get comps the next year.
Yeah, no, I was basically like telling them about the team, this little project that I'm putting together. I think there's a lot of potential, right? If we had, I never can really understand why more people don't jump at the opportunity to come. Like I'm like, hey, I'm going to Vegas. You should come because it's March Madness and it'll be awesome. Like it seems like an easy sell, but only you and John ever take me up on the offer, which I appreciate. But I'm, now that we have this whole team of people, what better way to have a team building exercise than March Madness in Vegas? Come on.
Yeah, speaking of sports related stuff, and we knocked out those 2 years. They'll always be. They were just magical, and they always will be. And I think that it will grow because we are 2-0 on having an incredible time, and it's just gotten better. And I think that it'll be a trend. It might get too good if it keeps going on this trend.
Yeah, I think I'm in for it to do that for sure. Looking forward to it. So it's going to be a great time. Last thing I had here on the whole agenda. You are a music man, I would say. You're a music man. More so, I would say even a music video man. I didn't even know those people existed, the music video man. But when I come over and you start showing me music videos, I'm like, oh my God, how do you find this stuff? But I guess it's just YouTube. But I never really do that. I just listen on Spotify. So whenever you open my mind to the music video, I always really appreciate that because you always find some pretty good ones.
Oh, well, thank you. I think that I thought that the music video was dead with the death of MTV. I was all on TRL in the late 90s where they would show you like 45 seconds of the top 10 songs. And they were always the same roughly, and then they would switch places. And I thought it had died, but then rappers came along and started making super trippy music videos, and then electronica kind of fused with hip hop, and some people there started making some trippy music videos, and I really like trippy music videos, and there are some just mind-bending ones.
Dude, do you remember? I think it was Beavis and Butthead actually on MTV, where they would watch music videos and go and like
make jokes about it.
Maybe we should bring that back potentially. I'm not ruling it out that we bring something like that back where we watch a music video and make jokes and just like, oh my God, do you see this? The car is melting into the water. How is this happening?
Oh my gosh, yep, that would be Lamborghini High.
But
that's a great idea because, as you just said, how do you discover new stuff? And that was how people discovered stuff. Is they watched Beavis and Butthead, and half of it was the cartoon with their storyline of the episode, and half of it was them watching like 4 or 5 music videos and just making jokes about them and stuff.
Yep.
And then you would go, oh, that's cool, and then you see that. Whereas, like, how do you discover new stuff, especially as you start getting older and you're not, you're doing the same stuff, and there is no MTV. So yeah, I like.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think we might be onto something there, and you discover new stuff by coming out and checking out a new website that's doing new stuff. We're doing new stuff. That's what we're doing. We're creating content for the people who come to our site and check it out. So yeah, I mean, hopefully we can build an audience and everything. I'd say final thoughts from me. I really look forward to putting out content. I'm really excited about it. Like I said, it is a creative outlet for me. Bringing in some of my big guns, top dogs, people that I think are experts at different things. You went this whole time somehow miraculously without mentioning that you have a business that you run and are helping people here in Austin, Texas, find housing. I don't know if anyone's moving here these days or not, but we do have a brokerage, or you do, I guess I should say. I'm just your employee. I work for you,
Yeah, we do the real estate, all of it. In a world of snaky and/or dumb realtors screwing everything up, we are not doing that. We do a good job.
Yep.
We run a clean show over here.
That's where we let them go here.
I don't think so. I think we got one in the book.
Yeah, we'll put that one in the can. I'll send it over to the executive producer and have him chop in some nice soundage for the beginning and the end. But thank you very much for joining us on this second episode here at the Sports Guy Austin. And I guess I'll say Sports Guy out.
Derek's Dogma out.